Take a very slow, deep breath in, drawing the quiet air of the evening down into your chest, and as you let it out in a long, soft sigh, notice the gentle release of tension in your jaw. Let your teeth part slightly, allowing the muscles of your face to smooth and soften in the dimming light. The world around you is beginning to quiet down, slowing its hurried pace, wrapping itself in the velvet cloak of the twilight. Above you, the sky over ancient Rome is a magnificent canvas of deepening indigo, fading at the western horizon into a soft, bruised peach and the muted gold of a sun that has already laid its head to rest. The swallows have stopped their darting flights, returning to their hidden nests among the terracotta roof tiles, and the heavy, humid heat of the Mediterranean afternoon has finally given way to the cool, forgiving embrace of the evening breeze. You are standing in a city of marble and stone, a city that has conquered the known world, but tonight, right now, it is simply a place of profound and undisturbed rest. The cacophony of the forum, the shouting of the merchants, and the clattering of wooden cartwheels on the basalt paving stones have all melted away, leaving behind a silence that feels thick and protective. You walk slowly down a narrow, shadowy street, your footsteps making no sound, feeling the residual warmth of the day still radiating gently from the walls of the buildings beside you. The air carries a soothing, complex fragrance, a mingling of distant wood smoke from domestic hearths, the resinous scent of stone pine trees standing tall against the darkening sky, and the clean, mineral smell of damp stone. You are approaching a structure that is a marvel of the ancient world, yet so seamlessly woven into the fabric of daily life that its profound tranquility is often overlooked during the busy daylight hours. It is one of the city's grand public latrini, a communal space of necessity, but in this quiet hour of the night, emptied of its daytime crowds, it reveals itself as a hidden sanctuary of water, marble, and monumental calm. You step over the worn marble threshold, moving under a beautifully arched doorway, and enter a spacious, rectangular room lined with smooth, pale columns. The air inside is instantly cooler, refreshing and still, insulated from the outside world by thick walls of Roman concrete and brick. The room is dimly illuminated by the soft, wavering glow of a few small clay oil lamps resting in niches along the walls. The flame of each lamp is a tiny, captive star, casting long, lazy shadows that stretch and sway across the floor, painting the room in shifting shades of amber and charcoal. The scent here is incredibly clean, carrying the faint, earthy aroma of the olive oil burning in the lamps, mixed with the unmistakable, purifying presence of fresh, constantly moving water. In the center of this colonnaded room, the floor is paved with intricate mosaics of black and white tesserae, depicting soothing geometric patterns that draw the eye into a state of hypnotic focus. But it is the perimeter of the room that holds the true rhythmic magic of this place. Lining the walls are long, continuous benches carved from solid slabs of cool, luminous white marble, worn impeccably smooth by the passage of thousands of citizens. And beneath these polished benches runs the lifeblood of the city. You see, the Romans engineered these public spaces with an ingenious, non-stop flushing system. The deep channels beneath the seating were fed directly by the runoff from the city's grand aqueducts, a continuous, diverted river of pure mountain water that never ceased its cleansing flow day or night. Listen to the water now. It is a sound older than the city itself, a sound that speaks to the deepest, most primal parts of your resting mind. It is a steady, unhurried, and musical cadence. Shush. Hush. Hush. The water glides over the smooth masonry of the deep channel, curling around the gentle bends of the stone, carrying away the echoes of the day with effortless grace. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is a liquid lullaby, a constant, rushing whisper that washes over your thoughts, smoothing out the jagged edges of your worries just as it smooths the stone it touches. You can feel the subtle vibration of this moving water resonating in the soles of your feet, a grounding, heavy frequency that anchors you to the earth and tells your body that you are completely safe, completely held by the quiet momentum of the world. From the shadows of a far corner, an elderly caretaker emerges, moving with the slow, deliberate grace of a man who has performed the same task every night for decades. He wears a simple, undyed woolen tunic that falls softly to his knees, and his face is lined with 1,000 gentle smiles, illuminated briefly as he passes near one of the flickering oil lamps. He carries a small wooden bucket of fresh water and a large, thick cloth of unbleached linen. He is not here to rush. He is here to restore the space, to prepare the marble for the dawn, and his movements are a physical manifestation of tranquility. You watch, your eyelids growing heavier with every passing moment, as he approaches the long curve of the marble seating. He dips the heavy linen cloth into the wooden bucket, the water making a soft, muted plip-plop sound in the quiet room. He wrings the cloth out with slow, strong hands, and then begins to wipe down the surface of the marble. He moves in long, sweeping, circular arcs. The damp linen glides over the cool stone with a deeply satisfying sound, a soft friction that blends perfectly with the flowing channel below. Round and round his hand moves, polishing the smooth keyhole-shaped openings of the seating, returning the stone to its pristine, gleaming state. He works his way down the long bench, step by slow step, a silent guardian of cleanliness and order. At the base of the marble benches, running through a shallow groove carved directly into the floor mosaic, is another, smaller stream of water. This is the fresh water channel, crystal clear and sparkling in the lamplight, used during the day to moisten and rinse the tersoria, the natural sea sponges attached to wooden sticks that served as the ancient world's tools of personal hygiene. Now, the channel is empty of hands, simply a ribbon of liquid glass reflecting the amber light. The caretaker kneels down with a quiet sigh, his old joints resting on a small woven cushion. He takes a bundle of new, clean sponges, fresh from the sea and smelling faintly of salt and deep ocean currents, and begins to carefully attach them to clean, smooth wooden dowels. He places each prepared tersorium into a large terracotta basin filled with a purifying mixture of water and sharp, clean-smelling vinegar, leaving them to soak in the quiet dark, ready for the morning. His work is methodical, a meditation in motion. Dip, wring, wipe, polish. The rhythm of his hands matches the eternal rhythm of the aqueduct water flowing beneath him. Shush. Hush. Hush. You find your own breathing syncing naturally with his slow, circular motions. As he moves further down the room, the marble he leaves behind him shines with a soft, damp luster, a reflection of the peace that has settled over the entire building. The walls around you, decorated with faded frescoes of river reeds, gentle herons, and sleeping water nymphs, seem to lean in closer, offering their silent blessing to the night. The shadows cast by the lamps grow longer, stretching lazily across the floor, turning the room into a canvas of dark, comforting shapes. The caretaker finishes his long circuit of the room. He stands slowly, picking up his wooden bucket, and offers a small, respectful nod to the empty, gleaming space. He knows his work is complete, that the order of the world has been maintained for one more night. He walks toward the arched doorway, pausing only to blow out all but one of the oil lamps. The room plunges into a deeper, softer darkness, lit only by a single solitary flame that struggles to stay awake against the encroaching night. As the caretaker's soft footsteps fade away down the cobblestone street outside, you are left alone with the monumental stillness of the marble and the endless, comforting song of the water. Your shoulders drop heavily away from your ears, releasing a weight you didn't know you were carrying. Your arms and legs feel loose, warm, and wonderfully heavy, as if the gravity in this ancient room has gently increased, pulling you down into a state of profound rest. The continuous flow of the aqueduct water beneath the stone is no longer just a sound. It is a feeling, a heavy rolling wave of relaxation that washes through your mind, carrying away the debris of the waking hours, leaving only a smooth, blank surface behind. Shush. Hush. Hush. The rhythm rocks you softly in place. You are sinking deeper into the quiet of the Roman night, drifting away from the waking world, surrendering completely to the beautiful, monotonous flow of time and water, ready to follow the ancient aqueducts to their hidden, peaceful. You remain completely still within the vast, echoing sanctuary of the marble room, enveloped by the deep, velvet quiet that follows the caretaker's departure. The single remaining oil lamp, resting in its curved stone niche, casts a soft, golden halo that barely reaches the high vaulted ceiling above. In this gentle half-light, the smooth white benches take on the appearance of soft, resting clouds, their edges blurred and friendly in the dimness. Hush. Hush of the constant, flowing water beneath the stone is your steadfast companion, a liquid metronome that sets the tempo for your own slowing heartbeat. The world outside the thick Roman concrete walls has completely surrendered to the night. You can almost feel the massive ancient city of Rome sleeping around you, a million souls resting under roofs of terracotta and timber, all held in the same peaceful, heavy gravity that is currently pressing down softly upon your own shoulders. As the midnight hour approaches, the air within the colonnaded hall undergoes a subtle, refreshing shift. High above, near the intricately painted wooden beams of the roof, small rectangular clerestory windows remain open to the heavens. Through these narrow openings, a cool descending current of night air begins to softly spill into the room. It carries with it the faint, silvery scent of the distant Tiber River, a smell of damp earth and resting water that mingles perfectly with the clean, mineral aroma of the wet marble surrounding you. Notice the sensation of this cool, clean air gently settling upon your forehead, like a soft, invisible cloth wiping away the last lingering thoughts of your waking day. Feel the skin around your eyes smoothing out, your brow unfurrowing completely as the temperature drops just enough to make you crave the heavy, comforting warmth of a thick woolen blanket. Your body knows that it is safe to seek warmth, safe to retreat inward, safe to shut down the busy mechanisms of the mind. From the quiet archway at the far end of the hall, a new gentle sound joins the symphony of the flowing water. It is the soft, rhythmic scuffing of leather-soled caligy, Roman sandals, moving with extreme care over the mosaic floor. A young attendant, cloaked in a heavy, dark woolen mantle to ward off the night air, enters the room. He does not break the silence, he becomes a part of it. In his hands he carries a beautiful heavy object made of dark, polished bronze. It is a foculus, a portable brazier, resting on three elegantly curved legs shaped like the paws of a sleeping lion. Unlike the Grand Thermae, the massive bathhouses located just down the street, which featured raised floors heated from below by roaring, subterranean furnaces known as hypocausts. These independent, well-ventilated public latrines often relied on a much simpler, more intimate method of banishing the midnight chill. Portable braziers like this one were carefully placed throughout the space to create small, inviting pockets of warmth for the night guards and the earliest risers of the dawn. The attendant moves toward the center of the room, choosing a spot on the mosaic floor where the geometric patterns form a large, calming circle. He lowers the heavy bronze foculus to the ground with a soft, muted metallic thud that resonates briefly through the stone before being swallowed by the sound of the flowing water. Inside the brazier rests a bed of fine, pale gray ash, the remnants of previous nights, and nestled within that ash are several large pieces of high-quality hardwood charcoal. The young man kneels beside the bronze basin, his movements unhurried and full of quiet purpose. From a small leather pouch at his belt, he produces a piece of smoldering tinder, a knot of dried moss that has been kept alive in a specialized pierced horn. He places the glowing ember gently into the center of the charcoal, banking the dark, jagged pieces around it like a protective fortress. Then he begins to blow on the ember. His breaths are long, slow, and perfectly measured. With each exhalation, a soft orange glow flares to life within the dark bronze bowl, casting a warm, pulsating light upward onto his peaceful face. Listen to the incredibly soft, rhythmic sound of the charcoal catching the heat. Crackle. Sut. Crackle. Sut. The crackle is the tiny, fragile sound of the wood fibers yielding to the warmth, a miniature snapping that is instantly muffled by the ash. The sigh is the sound of the heat releasing into the cool air, a barely audible exhalation from the heart of the brazier. Crackle. Sut. Crackle. Sut. It is a sound of profound domestic comfort, a sound that has signaled safety and shelter to humanity since the beginning of time. The attendant continues his slow, rhythmic breathing until the edges of the charcoal begin to glow with a steady, cherry-red heat. The light from the focus now rivals the single oil lamp on the wall, creating a beautiful duality in the room: the cool amber reflection on the wet marble walls, and the deep, rich, pulsing orange light pooling on the mosaic floor. He uses a small set of iron tongs to shift one final piece of charcoal into place, the metal clinking softly against the bronze rim, a tiny musical note that hangs in the air for a moment before drifting away. Satisfied with his work, the young man stands up slowly, brushing a dusting of pale ash from the heavy wool of his cloak. He gives the glowing embers a final approving look, turns, and quietly retraces his steps back toward the arched doorway, his leather sandals scuffing softly into the distance until the room is perfectly, beautifully empty once more. Now it is just you, the flowing water, and the sleeping fire. The warmth from the bronze brazier begins to radiate outward, moving in slow, invisible waves across the cool stone floor. Feel the heavy, dry warmth beginning to pool around your ankles and lower legs, contrasting wonderfully with the cool night air that rests upon your face. This radiant heat acts as a heavy, comforting blanket, wrapping around your calves and seeping deeply into your muscles, encouraging every fiber of your being to loosen, to let go, to melt downward into the supporting earth. The chill of the night is held safely at bay, leaving you suspended in a perfect, golden microclimate of absolute security. The visual rhythm of the room is utterly hypnotic. If you were to open your heavy eyelids just a fraction, you would see the reflection of the glowing coals dancing lazily on the surface of the freshwater channel at your feet. Fire and water, two opposing forces of nature, are here brought into a perfect, harmonious balance. The water continues its endless, cleansing journey. Shush. Hush. Hush. The charcoal continues its slow, quiet consumption. Crackle. Sut. Crackle. Sut. The two sounds weave together into a seamless tapestry of white noise, a complex, ancient frequency that signals to your brain that there is no more work to be done, no more vigilance required. The city is guarded. The fires are tended. The water flows on. As the heat penetrates deeper into your relaxing limbs, you feel your consciousness beginning to untether from the physical space. The grand columns, the painted ceiling, and the long, sweeping curves of the marble benches begin to blur at the edges, dissolving into soft shapes of shadow and light. You are sinking deeper into the soft, ash-like bed of your own resting mind. Your breathing has now perfectly matched the slow, pulsing glow of the charcoal, drawing the cool air in and breathing the warm, heavy air out. Crackle. Sut. Your limbs are too heavy to move, your mind too comfortable to think. You are entirely enveloped in the quiet rhythm of the Roman night, drifting safely on the current of the ancient aqueducts, floating further and further down into a deep, profound, and restorative. The orange glow of the charcoal brazier continues to pulse in the center of the hall, a rhythmic heartbeat of light that pushes softly against the encroaching shadows. Each time the embers brighten, they reveal the intricate details of the mosaic floor beneath you, thousands of tiny hand-cut stones in shades of cream, charcoal, and ochre, meticulously laid by a master tessellarius centuries ago. These stones have been polished by the passage of time and the gentle touch of countless feet, until they feel as smooth as the surface of a still pond. Notice the sensation of your weight sinking into the floor, as if the very stones were yielding to the heavy relaxation of your body, supporting you with the unshakable strength of the Roman earth. The coldness of the marble is no longer a chill. It has become a grounding, stabilizing force that draws the last remnants of restless energy from your limbs, leaving you feeling anchored, safe, and profoundly still. Through the high, open, clear-story windows, the deep indigo of the Roman night has shifted into a silent, star-strewn black. The constellations that guided the ancient mariners, the Great Bear, the Hunter, and the Seven Sisters, now look down upon the city, their distant, cold light filtered through the thin mountain air. Inside the latrina, the air remains perfectly still, a pocket of preserved time where the only movement is the rising heat from the bronze foculus and the eternal, gliding journey of the water. This water, traveling through miles of stone-arched aqueducts from the high lime-rich springs of the Apennine Mountains, carries a specific, cool vitality. It is a marvel of Roman engineering, the Aqua Virgo, perhaps, famed for its purity and its soft, silken texture. As it flows through the deep masonry channels beneath the marble benches, it produces a sound that is both a whisper and a roar, a white noise so consistent it becomes a form of silence. Shush. Hush. Hush. Listen to the water as it encounters a slight curve in the stone channel. The sound deepens for a moment, a resonant, hollow vibration that echoes softly against the vaulted ceiling, before smoothing out once more into that steady, rolling cadence. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is the sound of a city's health, a constant, automated cleansing that never falters. You find yourself focusing on the tiny rhythmic splashes where the water drops over a small stone ledge further down the line. Drip. Ripple. Flow. Drip. Ripple. Flow. This secondary rhythm is like a delicate embroidery on the heavy fabric of the main current. It invites your mind to stop its searching, to stop its planning, and to simply exist within the liquid geometry of the room. In the soft shadows near the entrance, a new, gentle motion begins. A night watchman, an older man whose duty is to patrol this district of the city, steps quietly into the hall. He is not here to investigate, but to find a moment of warmth and a brief respite from his slow walk through the silent streets. He carries a long wooden staff, tipped with a blunt bronze cap, which he uses to steady his gait on the uneven basalt paving stones outside. Here, on the smooth mosaic, he lifts the staff entirely, moving with a silent, practiced reverence for the peace of the space. He wears a heavy cloak of paenula, a thick, water-resistant wool dyed a deep, earthy brown. Feel the imagined weight of that heavy wool draped over your own shoulders, a coarse but warming embrace that shields you from the world, creating a private, dark cocoon of safety. The watchman approaches the bronze brazier, his shadow stretching long and thin across the marble benches. He holds his hands out over the glowing charcoal, his fingers gnarled and weathered like the roots of an ancient olive tree. As the heat hits his skin, he lets out a long, slow sigh of contentment, a sound that perfectly mirrors the sigh of the dying embers. He takes a small wooden comb from a pouch at his side and begins a slow, repetitive task to pass the time. He is cleaning the wool of his cloak, smoothing out the fibers that have become matted by the damp night air. Listen to the rhythmic, soft scritch, slide, scritch, slide of the wooden teeth through the heavy wool. The scritch is the gentle tension of the comb. The slide is the release as it glides through the clean fibers. Scritch, slide, scritch, slide. This sound is incredibly tactile, evoking the feeling of soft, brushed fabric against your skin. It is a monotonous, domestic rhythm that speaks of a world where things are mended, tended, and cared for with infinite patience. The watchman's movements are steady and hypnotic. He works from the collar of his cloak down to the hem, his head bowed, his eyes half closed in the warmth of the brazier. Scritch, slide, hush. The sound of the comb and the sound of the water weave together, creating a thick, auditory blanket that muffles the rest of the world. You feel your own thoughts becoming like those wool fibers, smoothed out, untangled, and laid to rest in a neat, orderly fashion. After a long while, the watchman finishes his task. He replaces the comb in his pouch and leans his staff against his shoulder. He takes a small flask of watered wine from his belt, takes a slow, silent sip, and looks around the empty hall with a sense of quiet pride. He sees the gleaming marble, the glowing fire, and the crystal-clear water, and he knows that all is well in his corner of Rome. He turns back toward the night, his departure as silent as his arrival. As the sound of his footsteps fades into the distance, the hall feels even more expansive, even more dedicated to the singular purpose of rest. The scritch slide of the comb lingers in the air as a ghostly memory, a lingering vibration of care and comfort. The charcoal in the brazier has now settled into a deep, consistent hum of heat. The cherry-red glow has softened into a dusty rose, covered by a thin, insulating layer of fine white ash. This ash acts as a blanket for the fire, much as sleep is beginning to act as a blanket for your mind. Notice how your breathing has become shallow and effortless, a slow, tidal movement that requires no thought and no energy. Your jaw is completely relaxed, your tongue resting softly against the floor of your mouth, your eyelids feeling as heavy as the bronze lion paws of the brazier. The flickering shadows on the wall have slowed their dance, becoming soft, pulsing blurs that move in time with the rising and falling of your chest. The water continues its journey, a silver ribbon in the darkness, carrying the silence of the mountains into the heart of the city. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is a sound that will continue long after you have drifted away, a constant reassurance that the world will keep turning, the water will keep flowing, and you are free to let go. You are sinking deeper into the cool, marble-scented dark, moving away from the light of the fire and toward the deep, star-filled silence of the Roman night. The stones are holding you. The wool is warming you. The water is singing you to sleep. You are drifting, floating, and finally perfectly. As the watchman's footsteps vanish into the velvet hush of the Roman night, take a slow, rhythmic breath, drawing in the cooling air that now smells faintly of damp earth and the sharp, clean tang of vinegar from the nearby terracotta basins. With each gentle exhale, imagine your body becoming a little softer, a little more porous, as if you were absorbing the profound stillness of the stone hall around you. The single oil lamp on the wall is now just a tiny golden heartbeat, its flame so steady it looks like a drop of amber frozen in time. The shadows in the corners of the room have deepened, turning the once white marble columns into tall, gray guardians that stand in silent meditation. Notice the sensation of the cool, smooth marble against the very base of your skull, a grounding touch that seems to draw the warmth of a busy mind out through the stone, leaving behind a clear, quiet space. The atmosphere within the hall has reached a state of perfect equilibrium. The heat from the brazier has reached its zenith and is now slowly, imperceptibly receding, leaving the air feeling like a warm liquid that holds you in place. On the walls, the frescoes of river reeds and water nymphs seem to come alive in the flickering light. The painted herons appear to tilt their heads, listening to the eternal song of the aqueduct below. This water, the Aqua Virgo, continues its relentless, beautiful journey. It is an engineering masterpiece, traveling from the hills to the city through a system of precisely graded tunnels, and here, in the heart of the latrina, it performs its final, most humble service. Shush. Hush. Hush. The sound is a thick, woolen texture in the air, a constant reminder that the world is being cleansed even while it sleeps. In the center of the hall, near the shallow freshwater channel that runs like a silver thread through the floor, a second assistant, a young boy whose job is to ensure the readiness of the morning's tools, kneels quietly on a thick straw mat. He moves with a slow, sleepy grace, his eyes barely open, his hands moving by touch and memory. Beside him sits a large, wide-mouthed jar made of porous red clay, filled with a mixture of salt water and white vinegar. This was the Roman secret to hygiene. They knew that this acidic, briny solution would keep their communal tools fresh and safe for the coming day. These tools, the xylospongium, or more commonly known as the tersorium, are simple sea sponges attached to smooth wooden sticks, yet they are handled here with the care one might give to fine instruments. The boy reaches into a basket of dry, stiff sponges harvested from the warm Mediterranean reefs. He takes one, feeling its rough, skeletal texture, and slowly dips it into the vinegar solution. Listen to the rhythmic, soft swish drip. Swish drip. Swish drip, as he prepares each sponge. The swish is the sound of the dry sponge thirsty for the liquid. The drip is the heavy, saturated weight as he lifts it out to check its suppleness. Swish drip. Swish drip. Swish drip. It is a wet, musical cadence that blends seamlessly with the larger rush of the aqueduct. He holds the sponge up to the lamplight, turning the wooden handle slowly between his palms, ensuring the twine that binds the sea foam to the wood is tight and secure. Then, he lays it gently into a clean tray, the sound of the wet sponge meeting the wood a soft, muted thud. The boy's task is repetitive and entirely devoid of urgency. There are dozens of these sticks to prepare, and he treats each one as a small, individual meditation. He doesn't look at the clock, for the only clock here is the slow dripping of a water thief in the corner. He simply exists within the rhythm of the salt and the wood. Swish drip. Swish drip. You find your own mind following the arc of his hand, rising with the swish and falling with the drip. The acidity of the vinegar is not sharp, but refreshing, a scent that signals order and preparation. It is a verified historical truth that the Romans were obsessed with this communal cleanliness, using these sponges in a way that was both practical and deeply ingrained in their social fabric. And in the quiet of the night, this obsession turns into a peaceful ritual of care. As the tray fills with the damp, prepared tersoria, the boy takes a small piece of pumice stone and begins to smooth down the wooden handles of the sticks that have become rough from use. Listen to the incredibly soft rhythmic hiss, slide, hiss, slide of the pumice against the wood. The hiss is the stone biting into the grain. The slide is the boy's hand moving back for the next stroke. Hiss, slide, hiss, slide. This sound is like the breath of the room itself, a dry, textural whisper that provides a perfect counterpoint to the wet sounds of the water channels. It is a sound of refining, of taking something rough and making it smooth, much like the night is taking the rough edges of your day and smoothing them into the soft curves of sleep. The boy pauses for a moment, his head nodding forward as sleep pulls at him. He stays in that half-crouched position, his hands resting on the clay jar, his breathing deep and even. The room waits for him, patient and unhurried. After a long minute, he rouses himself with a slow blink, finishes the last few sticks, and places the pumice stone back in his pouch. He stands up, his shadow briefly eclipsing the frescoes on the wall, and moves to the freshwater channel. He pours a small amount of the vinegar water into the flowing stream, watching as it creates a momentary cloud of white before being swept away by the current. He picks up his empty basket and his mat, and with a final sleepy glance at the gleaming marble benches, he slips out into the night, leaving the hall even more isolated, even more sacred in its solitude. Now the silence returns with a newfound depth. The hiss slide of the pumice and the swish drip of the sponges have left a lingering vibration in the air, a sense of deep, domestic completion. The room is ready. The tools are prepared. The marble is clean. Feel the heavy, warm relaxation spreading through your chest and stomach, a feeling of total adequacy, as if you too have completed every task required of you. There is nothing left to prepare, nothing left to smooth over. Your heart rate has slowed to a steady, effortless thrum, matching the low-frequency vibration of the Roman architecture around you. You are part of the stone, part of the water, part of the history that is currently breathing in the dark. The frescoes on the wall seem to dim as the oil lamp's wick grows shorter. The painted water nymphs now seem to be drifting into the dark water of the mural, their forms becoming one with the shadows. The herons have tucked their beaks under their wings. The only thing that remains active is the water. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is the pulse of the city, the hidden river that keeps the heart of Rome beating even when its people are lost in dreams. You are following that pulse now, letting it pull you away from the shore of wakefulness. The marble is cool, the air is still, and the darkness is a kind and heavy blanket that is slowly being pulled over your mind. You are drifting further into the shadows of the hall, toward the very back where the light of the lamp cannot reach. Here the air is even cooler, even more peaceful. You are letting go of the boy, the sponges, the vinegar, and the stone. You are becoming a part of the long, slow shadow that stretches across the mosaic floor. Every breath is a surrender. Every hush of the water is a step deeper into the forest of sleep. You are safe in the hands of the engineers, the caretakers, and the night. The city is quiet. The water is flowing. And you are, at last, truly. Take a long, slow breath in, and as you exhale, notice the weight of your eyelids becoming almost impossible to lift. It is as if they are made of the same heavy, smooth marble as the benches surrounding you, pulled downward by the kind and persistent gravity of the Roman night. Have you ever noticed how the stars seem to vibrate when the air is perfectly still? High above the open clerestory windows, the constellations have shifted their positions, creeping slowly across the ink-black sky, marking the deep, quiet hours of the middle night. You are cradled in the very heart of the city, protected by layers of stone and history, held in a silence so thick it feels like a physical presence. Notice the sensation of your hips and lower back becoming heavy and soft, as if you were sinking directly into the cool, solid support of the earth itself, feeling every muscle in your torso surrender its hold on the day. The atmosphere in the hall has turned into a masterpiece of shadow and silver. The moonlight, now at its zenith, pours through the high windows in straight, solid shafts, illuminating the fine dust motes that dance in the air like microscopic sparks. These beams of light strike the wet mosaic floor, turning the black and white stones into a field of shimmering diamonds. The scent of the room has evolved. The sharp tang of the vinegar has settled, leaving behind a deep, comforting smell of damp limestone and the faint, sweet perfume of the night-flowering vines that cling to the exterior walls of the building. The single oil lamp has finally flickered out, leaving the room to be governed entirely by the moon and the dying ruby-red pulse of the charcoal brazier. In this dimness, the room feels larger, more infinite, a cathedral of water and stone dedicated to the slow, rhythmic passage of time. From the deep shadows of the entrance, a new figure enters the hall, moving with a gait so slow and measured it barely disturbs the air. This is an Aquarius, a high-level official responsible for the city's water systems, performing a final nocturnal inspection of the flow levels. He is an older man, dressed in a tunic of fine, heavy linen, over which he wears a leather vest darkened by years of contact with the damp environments of the aqueducts. He does not carry a lamp. He knows the geometry of this room by heart, having walked its perimeter 1,000 times. In his hand he carries a long, slender rod of polished cedar wood, tipped with a small, heavy bronze weight. This is his tool of measurement, a simple device that ensures the city's lifeblood is moving at the perfect, cleansing speed. The Aquarius approaches the deep water channel beneath the marble benches. He moves with a quiet, scholarly reverence, his eyes fixed on the silver ribbon of moving water. He kneels slowly, his knees making a soft, dry sound against the mosaic, and lowers the cedar rod into the flow. Listen to the rhythmic, metallic tink, splash, slide as he checks the water's depth. The tink is the bronze weight meeting the stone bottom of the channel. The splash is the water curling around the wood, and the slide is the rod being lifted out to check the waterline. Tink, splash, slide. It is a delicate, precise sound that punctuates the larger roar of the aqueduct like a single silver bell. Tick, splash, slide. He repeats this every 10 paces, moving around the entire hall, ensuring that the gradient of the stone is still true, that the water is still falling toward its inevitable destination. This destination is the Cloaca Maxima, the Great Sewer, an ancient and massive engineering marvel that is as much a part of Rome's identity as the Colosseum. It is a verified historical fact that these public latrines were directly connected to this subterranean river of waste, which was flushed continuously by the overflow from the aqueducts, carrying the city's debris out and into the Tiber River with a relentless, automated power. The Aquarius is checking the invisible pulse of this system, making sure the city's health is maintained while it dreams. You watch his hands, weathered and steady, as they move through the moonlight. Tick, splash, slide. Each measurement is a confirmation of order, a testament to the Roman belief that civilization is built upon the quiet, efficient movement of water. The rhythm of his work is deeply hypnotic. He moves from one marble column to the next, a shadow moving through light, his cedar rod a rhythmic wand that tames the wildness of the water. Tick, splash, slide. Hush. The sound of the rod and the sound of the channel weave together into a complex, liquid braid of noise. You find your breathing slowing down to match his pace, one long, deep inhalation as he moves and a slow, effortless exhalation as the rod meets the water. The consistency of it is a powerful sedative, a repetitive loop that tells your mind there are no surprises here, no emergencies, only the steady, unchanging laws of physics and stone. As the Aquarius reaches the far end of the hall, he pauses near the main outlet where the water begins its plunge into the deeper, darker channels of the earth. He stands and leans his weight against a heavy stone pillar, looking out at the moonlight-drenched room with a sense of profound, quiet satisfaction. He is the guardian of the flow, the man who ensures that even in the darkest hour, the city remains clean and renewed. He takes a small bronze clepsydra, a water clock, from his belt and watches the slow rhythmic drip of the liquid inside. Drip, drip, drip. Each drop is a second of the night passing, a tiny watery heartbeat that signals the slow approach of a peaceful dawn. The drip of the clock is so quiet it is almost a feeling rather than a sound, a subtle vibration that resonates in the air. He replaces the clock in his measuring rod, and with a final slow look at the glowing embers of the brazier, he turns to leave. His sandals make a soft rhythmic scuff. Scuff on the mosaic as he walks toward the exit. The sound is like the slow, steady ticking of a clock made of leather and stone. As he disappears into the night, the hall feels even more secluded, even more perfectly prepared for the deepest level of rest. The tink-splash slide of his rod has left a lingering echo in the room, a sense of scientific, measured peace that provides a solid foundation for your dreams. Now the room belongs entirely to the shadows and the water. The embers in the brazier have grown even dimmer, covered in a thick, insulating layer of white ash that looks like fallen snow in the moonlight. The warmth has become a subtle, pervasive hum, a memory of fire that still keeps the chill at bay. Feel the heavy, warm relaxation moving up from your hips into your chest and down into your arms, a feeling of being completely supported by the architecture of the past. Your muscles have lost all their tension, becoming as soft and pliant as the wet linen the caretaker used earlier. Your mind is like the surface of the freshwater channel, smooth, clear, and moving in a single, peaceful direction. The frescoes on the walls have almost disappeared into the dark, leaving only the suggestion of reeds and resting birds. The columns are tall, gray ghosts that hold up the night. Everything in the city of Rome is currently geared toward one thing: the preservation of rest. The engineers have done their work. The caretakers have polished the stone. The water is flowing and the stars are watching. Shush. Hush. Hush. The sound of the aqueduct is the only thing that remains, a liquid lullaby that has been playing for 1,000 years and will play for 1,000 more. You are drifting away from the marble, away from the official, and away from the city. You are following the water as it leaves the light of the moon and enters the cool, dark tunnels beneath the streets. Here there is no sound but the rushing of the flow and the silence of the earth. You are safe. You are heavy. You are completely at peace. Every breath is a deeper dive into the velvet darkness. The world is in order. The water is true. And you are at last ready. Inhale very slowly now, feeling the cool mineral-rich air of the deep Roman night expand your lungs, and as you breathe out, imagine every remaining spark of alertness in your mind gently fading, just like the dying embers in the bronze brazier. The hall is now a kingdom of silver and velvet shadow, where the high marble columns seem to reach up into a sky of infinite, silent stars. The water continues its tireless, rhythmic journey through the channels. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is a sound that has no beginning and no end, a liquid thread that sews the hours of the night together into a single, seamless garment of peace. Notice the sensation of your shoulders and the back of your neck becoming wonderfully heavy, as if a soft, warm weight were pressing down on them, encouraging your muscles to broaden and melt into the supporting stone beneath you. There is no need to hold yourself up anymore. The city is holding you, the architecture is holding you, and the history of this place is a sturdy cradle for your rest. The atmosphere in the latrina has reached a state of profound, crystalline stillness. The moonlight has moved slightly, tracing a new path across the black and white mosaic floor, illuminating a section near the arched entrance where the patterns become more intricate. The air here carries a new, subtle scent, the damp, chalky aroma of fresh lime mortar and the faint, earthy smell of wet stone dust. This is the scent of preservation, of a city that never stops tending to its beauty. In the quietest corner of the hall, near a decorative niche where a small statue of Fortuna once stood, a lone craftsman, a musivarius or mosaic artist, is seated on a low wooden stool. He is an elderly man with silver hair that catches the moonlight, and he is performing a delicate midnight repair on a loose section of the floor. He works with a focus so deep it feels like a form of prayer. Before him lies a small wooden tray containing a handful of tiny hand-cut stone cubes, tesserae, in shades of deep basalt black and pure Carrara white. Beside the tray is a small earthenware pot filled with a thick, pale adhesive made of slaked lime and crushed marble dust. He is not creating a new masterpiece. He is simply replacing a few stones that have been loosened by the thousands of feet that pass through this hall each day. Listen to the rhythmic, tiny tap, scrape, tap, scrape of his work. The tap is the sound of his small, pointed hammer gently testing the bedding of a stone. The scrape is the sound of his bronze spatula removing a sliver of old, dry mortar. Tap, scrape, tap, scrape. It is a miniature, percussive rhythm that echoes softly against the marble benches, a delicate heartbeat within the larger silence. The musivarius picks up a single black tessera with steady, calloused fingers. He turns it over, inspecting its jagged edges in the dim light of the dying brazier, before dipping its base into the lime mortar. He places it into the gap in the floor with a precision born of 50 years of labor. Tap, tap, tap. He uses the wooden handle of his hammer to nudge the stone into its perfect place, ensuring it sits flush with its neighbors. It is a verified historical fact that Roman public latrines were often decorated with elaborate mosaics, not just for beauty but for protection. They frequently featured images of the evil eye, being attacked by animals or comical figures to ward off the demons of illness and bad luck that the ancients believed inhabited places of waste. The artist is currently working on the edge of one such protective border, a swirling pattern of ivy leaves that promises health and vitality to all who enter. The rhythm of his movement is as steady as the flow of the aqueduct. Tap, scrape, tap, tap. His hand moves from the tray to the floor in a slow, graceful arc. He doesn't hurry. In Rome, stone is eternal, and the work of a single night is merely a heartbeat in the life of the city. You find your own pulse slowing to match the deliberate pace of his hammer. Each tap is a signal to your mind that the world is being mended, that any cracks or imperfections in your own day are being filled with the smooth, cooling mortar of the night. The scrape of the spatula is like a gentle brush, clearing away the debris of your thoughts, leaving behind a clean, level surface where dreams can be laid down like precious stones. As the craftsman finishes the small repair, he takes a damp sponge, one of the fine-poured Mediterranean sponges from his kit, and wipes it over the new section of mosaic. Listen to the soft, rhythmic hiss, shush, hiss, shush as the wet sponge moves over the stone. It is a sound of absolute cleanliness, a sound of completion. He clears away the excess white mortar, revealing the sharp, clean lines of the ivy leaves. The wet stone glimmers in the moonlight, a fresh and perfect addition to the ancient floor. The artist leans back, his joints creaking softly in the quiet, and surveys his work with a tired, peaceful smile. He knows that by the time the first rays of the sun strike the marble benches, the mortar will have begun its slow process of turning back into stone, and his work will be invisible, part of the seamless whole once more. He begins to pack his tools away, each one making a soft, familiar sound as it finds its place in his leather wrap. The small hammer clinks against the spatula. The wooden tray slides into the bag with a dry, hollow sound. He stands up slowly, his shadow stretching across the room like a long, dark finger. He takes a small flask of water, pours a little onto the floor to rinse his hands, and watches as the liquid mirrors the silver of the moon before disappearing into the drainage groove. With a final respectful nod to the silent hall, he picks up his stool and walks toward the exit, his footsteps a fading rhythmic thud. Thud. Thud on the basalt street outside. The hall returns to its state of absolute liquid solitude. The tap scrape of the hammer is gone, leaving behind a silence that feels even deeper and more resonant. The new mortar in the floor is cooling, beginning its long, slow sleep into stone. Feel the heavy, cool relaxation moving from your shoulders down through your arms to your very fingertips, as if you too were being set into a bed of soft, supportive mortar. Your limbs feel immobile and peaceful, anchored to the history of the room, held fast by the weight of the marble and the wisdom of the craftsman who built it. Your mind is like the mosaic itself, a collection of many small things, now smoothed over and unified by the quiet of the night. The stars above the clerestory windows have begun to dim as the night reaches its deepest, most silent point. The moon is setting, and the shadows have grown so long they have merged into a single dark ocean of peace. The only thing that remains is the water. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is the sound of the city breathing in its sleep, a constant rhythmic reminder that life continues in a steady, cleansing flow. You are drifting with that flow now, moving away from the artist, away from the stone, and away from the light. You are becoming a part of the dark, cool tunnels that carry the water through the heart of the earth. You are safe in the architecture of the past. The floor is mended. The night is secure. Every breath is a deeper surrender to the heavy velvet darkness that fills the hall. The water is singing to the stone, and the stone is singing to you. You are sinking, floating, and finally, perfectly, letting go into the deep, dreamless rest of the ancient. Allow your breath to slow even further now, as if you were trying to match the heavy, ancient pace of the stone walls themselves. With every gentle inhalation, imagine the cool, silver light of the moon filling the spaces between your thoughts, and with every long, slow exhalation, feel the last remnants of the waking world dissolving into the shadows. The hall of the latrina has become a temple of deep, liquid silence, where the only movement is the slow, rhythmic crawl of the moonlight across the polished marble. The air is perfectly still, yet it feels rich and textured, carrying the cooling memories of the day's heat and the fresh, mineral promise of the flowing water. Notice the sensation of your hands resting by your sides, feeling them become heavy and warm, as if they were sinking into a bed of soft, sun-warmed sand, completely released from the need to grasp or hold or do. In this deepest hour of the night, the architecture of the room reveals its subtle, geometric beauty. The walls are not merely flat surfaces. They are constructed in the beautiful opus reticulatum style, a diamond-shaped pattern of small, square tough stones that creates a soft, repeating texture in the dim light. This pattern, a hallmark of Roman engineering, gives the walls a rhythmic quality that draws the eye into a state of hypnotic calm. As the moonlight grazes these diagonal lines, it creates a field of tiny, soft shadows that look like the scales of a resting dragon or the surface of a quiet sea. The scent of the room has shifted once again, moving away from the sharp tang of the vinegar and toward a much softer, more herbal fragrance. This is the scent of the night vigil, the aroma of a city that uses the natural world to soothe its weary senses. From a small, arched side door used by the staff, an apprentice herbalist enters the hall. He is a young man with a quiet, focused demeanor, carrying a large woven basket filled with bundles of dried herbs and small linen satchels. It was common practice in the more luxurious public spaces of Rome to use aromatic plants not only to mask the inevitable odors of a communal space but to create an atmosphere of salubritas, health, and well-being. Unlike the modern world, which seeks to hide the functions of the body behind closed doors, The Romans viewed the latrina as a highly social, communal environment. The long marble benches have no dividers, no partitions. It was a place where senators and laborers might sit side by side, discussing the news of the forum or the price of grain. In the silence of the night, this lack of barriers makes the room feel even more expansive and inclusive, a shared sanctuary for the entire human family. The apprentice moves to a small stone ledge near the freshwater channel. He sits cross-legged on a thick woolen mat, his movements as fluid and silent as the water. He takes a bundle of dried lavender, it stalks a dusty, muted purple in the moonlight, and begins to strip the flowers into a small terracotta bowl. Listen to the rhythmic, soft rustle of his work. The rustle is the sound of the dry lavender stems brushing against one another. The sift is the sound of the tiny flower buds falling into the ceramic bowl, and the tie is the soft snip of the linen thread as he secures a small bag. Rustle. It is a dry, floral cadence that provides a delicate, earthy layer to the constant shhh hush of the aqueduct water. Rustle. The sound is incredibly grounding, evoking the feeling of a summer garden resting under the stars. He works with a repetitive, meditative grace. He mixes the lavender with crushed dried bay leaves and a handful of coarse sea salt, which acts as a preservative for the scent. The aroma that rises from his bowl is profound and deeply relaxing, a combination of floral sweetness, herbal spice, and the clean, sharp scent of the ocean. It is a scent that signals the brain to lower its guard, to trust in the safety of the environment. The apprentice fills a dozen small linen bags, each one about the size of a plum, and then stands to place them in the small decorative niches located behind the marble seating. As he moves, he passes a small altar carved directly into the wall, a shrine to the goddess Fortuna. It is a verified historical fact that many Roman latrines featured such altars, as the ancients believed that the act of using the toilet left a person vulnerable to demons of ill health or bad luck. The presence of the goddess provided a sense of spiritual security, a divine guardian for a very human moment. The apprentice reaches the shrine and places a small sprig of rosemary at the base of the statue. He then continues his slow circuit of the room, hanging the scented bags from small bronze hooks. Listen to the rhythmic, soft thrum clink as he moves. The thrum is the sound of his bare feet on the mosaic. The clink is the small linen bag brushing against the stone wall. Thrum, click, thrum, click. The rhythm is as steady as a heartbeat, a slow and comforting pulse that echoes the order and care of the Roman night. He is creating a sensory map of the room, a trail of fragrance that will greet the first citizens of the dawn with a sense of peace and renewal. The bags sway slightly in the cool air descending from the clerestory windows, releasing their scent in slow, invisible waves. You find your own breathing expanding to catch these waves of lavender and bay. The air feels lighter, more ethereal, as if the room itself were exhaling its tensions into the night. The apprentice finishes his task, picking up his empty basket and his woolen mat. He pauses for a moment by the freshwater channel, dipping his fingers into the flow to rinse away the dust of the herbs. He watches as the tiny dark specks of lavender are caught by the current and carried away into the shadows. With a slow, respectful bow to the silent hall and the statue of Fortuna, he slips back through the side door, the latch clicking shut with a soft, final snick. The hall is once again left to its own devices, but it is now changed. The rustle sift tie of the apprentice has left a lingering vibration of herbal comfort in the air. The scent of the lavender is like a soft hand stroking your brow, smoothing away the last ripples of thought. Feel the heavy rhythmic pulsing of your own blood in your fingertips, a slow and steady reminder that you are alive, you are safe, and you are part of this ancient, breathing world. The darkness is no longer just an absence of light. It is a fragrant, supportive presence that holds you in its embrace. The moonlight has moved further still, and the shafts of light are now angling sharply toward the floor, illuminating the deep, dark openings in the marble benches. Beneath those openings, the water of the Aqua Virgo continues its work. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is the sound of time itself, moving forward without effort, carrying the city toward the morning while you remain anchored in this perfect midnight moment. The walls of Opus Reticulatum stand firm. The goddess Fortuna watches over the silence, and the scent of the herbs provides a bridge between the physical world and the world of dreams. You are drifting now, caught in the invisible current of the fragrance and the sound. Your body is as still as the statues in the niches, your mind as clear and open as the vaulted ceiling. You are letting go of the apprentice, the lavender, and the linen bags. You are becoming a part of the air itself, floating in the space between the marble and the stars. Every breath is a deeper surrender to the heavy, floral darkness. The water is singing, the stone is resting, and you are finally, perfectly, sinking into the deep, dreamless sleep of the Roman. Take a very long, slow breath, pulling the cool, lavender-scented air deep into the bottom of your lungs, and as you exhale, imagine your body becoming as still and as permanent as the marble foundations of the city itself. The hall is now caught in a timeless, silvery suspension. The moon has climbed to its highest point, and its light falls through the clerestory windows in thick, luminous columns that look like solid beams of frosted glass. These beams pierce the darkness, striking the wet edges of the water channels and creating a shimmering liquid lace that dances upon the underside of the vaulted ceiling. Notice the sensation of a thick, heavy woolen wrap being draped over your knees, a coarse but deeply warming weight that encourages your legs to settle, your ankles to roll outward, and your feet to go completely soft against the mosaic floor. You are a silent observer in this sanctuary of stone, tucked away from the currents of time, held in the protective palm of a Roman night that knows only peace. The fragrance of the lavender and crushed bay leaves has now fully permeated the space, creating a soft, aromatic haze that seems to blur the sharp edges of the columns. The scent is a heavy, floral anchor, grounding your mind in the present moment, whispering that there is nowhere else you need to be. The constant rhythmic song of the Aqua Virgo continues its work beneath the benches. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is a sound of absolute reliability, a promise kept by the engineers of the past to the people of the present. In this quietude, the room feels not like a place of utility, but like a gallery of textures. The rough tuff of the walls, the smooth silk of the marble, and the cold liquid glass of the water. From the shadows of the rear vestibule, a specialized worker enters the hall. He is the sponge steward, a man whose sole responsibility is the final sorting and quality control of the communal tools before the city wakes. He moves with a slow, rhythmic limp, a legacy of a long life perhaps, but his hands are steady and graceful. He carries a large flat tray of polished dark wood, and on it lie rows of newly prepared tersoria. It is a verified historical fact that the sponges used in these latrines were predominantly high-quality sea sponges harvested from the warm, rocky depths of the Aegean Sea or the North African coast, prized for their durability and their incredible softness when wet. The steward's job is a quiet one, a final check of the inventory of comfort that the Roman citizens expect as their birthright. He finds a spot on the marble bench where the moonlight is brightest and sets his tray down with a soft, hollow clunk. He begins a methodical, repetitive process of grading and arranging. He picks up a sponge stick, its wooden handle smooth and pale, and presses the Mediterranean sponge against his palm to test its springiness and hydration. Listen to the rhythmic, soft clack, whisper, thud of his movements. The clack is the sound of one wooden handle meeting another as he sorts them by length. The whisper is the sound of the wet sponge being squeezed gently, and the thud is the stick being placed into a heavy ceramic jar for the morning. Clack, whisper, thud, clack, whisper, thud. It is a monotonous, domestic cadence that creates a new layer of sound over the rushing water. The steward does not rush. He treats each tersorium with a level of care that borders on the artistic. He ensures that the twine binding the sponge to the wood is perfectly flush, so it will not scratch the hand of a senator or a merchant. He is the invisible hand of Roman luxury, ensuring that even in the most basic of human functions, there is a standard of excellence. You find your own mind following the clack and the thud, letting the repetition act as a gentle hammer, tapping away the last flickers of your internal monologue. The whisper of the sponge is like a soft breath, a sigh of relief from the sea itself, now serving a new purpose in the heart of the empire. Clack, whisper, thud. The sound is so consistent it becomes a part of the silence, a rhythmic lullaby of wood and water. As he works, the steward takes a small vial of scented oil, perhaps a bit of cedar or mastic, and rubs a single drop into the wood of each handle. Feel the imagined smoothness of that polished wood beneath your own fingertips, a tactile sensation of order and completion. The scent of the cedar rises briefly, a sharp, woody note that cuts through the lavender before blending into the room's complex bouquet. The steward is not just preparing tools, he is preparing a social experience. He knows that in a few hours, this hall will be filled with the hum of conversation, as men sit together in this unpartitioned space, sharing the news of the borders or the latest gossip from the Palatine Hill. But now, in the moonlight, that social bustle is merely a distant, impossible dream. There is only the steward, the wood, and the water. He finishes the last of his sorting, stacking the jars neatly at intervals along the marble benches. He takes a long, slow stretch, his shadow elongating across the mosaic ivy leaves, and looks around the room with the quiet pride of a man who knows his part in the great machine of Rome is small but essential. He picks up his empty tray, and with a slow, deliberate nod to the single glowing ember in the brazier, he exits the hall. His footsteps are a fading tap, shuffle, tap on the stone floor, a sound that grows fainter and fainter until the room is once again surrendered to its liquid solitude. The silence that returns is deeper than before, reinforced by the order the steward has left behind. The jars of sponges stand like small, clay sentinels along the walls, ready for the day but currently resting in the dark. Feel the heavy, rhythmic pulsing of your own breath moving deep into your abdomen, a slow and effortless tide that requires no focus. Your body is now a part of the architecture, a living stone in the vault of the night. The heavy woolen wrap on your knees is a warm, constant comfort, a shield against the thinning air of the pre-dawn hours. The moonlight has begun its slow retreat, the columns of light angling further toward the corners of the room. The shadows are reclaiming the center of the mosaic floor, turning the geometric patterns into a soft, gray blur. The only thing that remains unchanged is the flow. Shush. Hush. Hush. The Aqua Virgo continues its descent through the city, a silver ghost moving through the dark, carrying the silence of the mountains into the heart of the world. You are following that ghost now, letting it lead you away from the marble, away from the jars, and away from the steward. You are drifting into the deep, dark tunnels of the Roman night, where the air is cool and the stone is silent. Every breath is a deeper surrender to the heavy velvet darkness. The work is done. The tools are ready. The city is quiet. You are safe in the hands of the past, held by the stone and the water. You are sinking, floating, and finally, perfectly, letting go into the deep, dreamless rest of the ancient. Take another slow, rhythmic breath, feeling the cool, still air of the Roman night settle deep within your chest. As you exhale, imagine your body becoming even more porous, like the soft, tough stone of the walls, absorbing the profound silence of this ancient hall. The moonlight has shifted its position once again, now painting long, slanted rectangles of silver across the polished marble benches, making them look like silent, resting sentinels in the dark. The world outside the thick concrete walls is hushed, a city of millions held in a collective, dreamless embrace. You are tucked away in this pocket of time, a sanctuary of water and stone where the only clock is the steady, liquid pulse of the city's heart. Notice the weight of your feet falling away from each other, perfectly limp and relaxed, as if the very bones of your ankles have turned to soft, heavy clay, surrendering entirely to the support of the mosaic floor. The atmosphere in the latrina has deepened into a rich, amber-toned darkness. The single oil lamp that was lit earlier has long since faded, but the air still carries the faint, comforting scent of warm olive oil and charred wick. It is a thick, domestic aroma that speaks of security and the quiet maintenance of the home. The water in the channels continues its endless, gliding song. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is a sound that smooths over the edges of the mind, a rhythmic white noise that masks the distant, infrequent sounds of the Roman night, the hoot of an owl from the Palatine Hill or the faint, metallic clatter of a night gate being secured. From the shadows of the arched doorway, a new figure enters the hall with a gait so slow and deliberate it seems to match the movement of the stars. This is the lamp steward, an elderly man whose task is to ensure that the small clay lamps in the wall niches are refilled and ready for the early morning laborers who will arrive before the sun. He carries a large, twin-handled amphora made of heavy, unglazed terracotta, filled with the finest, clearest olive oil. It is a verified historical fact that Roman oil lamps, lucerni, were ubiquitous in every corner of life, from the lowliest tenement to the grandest palace, fueled by the vast olive groves of Hispania or North Africa, and their soft, flickering light was the very color of ancient nighttime. The steward moves with a practiced, rhythmic grace, his leather sandals making a soft, dry scuff on the stones. He reaches the first niche where a small, bird-shaped lamp sits in a bed of shadows. He sets the heavy amphora down on the marble bench with a muted, hollow clunk that resonates through the stone. He produces a small bronze funnel and begins the slow, methodical process of refilling the reservoir. Listen to the rhythmic, viscous glug, pull, settle of his work. The glug is the sound of the oil leaving the narrow neck of the amphora. The pour is the steady, liquid stream entering the lamp, and the settle is the soft, heavy silence as the lamp becomes full. Glug, pull, settle. Glug, pull, settle. It is a thick, rhythmic cadence that provides a heavy, golden layer to the constant shhh hush of the water. He doesn't rush his task. The oil is precious, a liquid gold that must be handled with reverence. As he pours, a few drops spill onto the marble, and he uses a small piece of soft, unbleached wool to wipe them away in slow, circular motions. Feel the imagined silkiness of that oil against your own skin, a sensation of luxurious, heavy smoothness that seems to lubricate your own joints and muscles, allowing them to slide into a state of even deeper relaxation. The scent of the fresh oil rises, a green, peppery, and earthy fragrance that reminds the mind of sun-drenched hills and the eternal cycle of the harvest. Glug, pull, settle. The repetition is utterly hypnotic. You find your own breathing syncing with the rise and fall of the oil in the lamps, a slow, tidal movement that requires no effort and no thought. The steward moves from niche to niche, his shadow stretching and shrinking against the opus reticulatum walls like a slow, rhythmic dance. He checks the wicks, small twists of linen or papyrus, trimming them with a pair of tiny bronze shears that make a soft, musical snip. Snip. Pull. Settle. Snip. Pull. Settle. The rhythm of the work is a testament to the Roman obsession with order and preparation. Even in this humble public space, nothing is left to chance. Every lamp is a promise of light, every drop of oil a commitment to the safety of the citizens. The steward is the guardian of the flame, the man who ensures that the darkness is never absolute. As he reaches the far end of the hall, near the statue of Fortuna, he pauses to refill the lamp that hangs before the goddess. He moves with extra care here, his head bowed in a silent gesture of respect. He pours the oil until it reaches the very lip of the bronze lamp, then uses his thumb to smooth the wick into place. The moonlight catches the surface of the oil, turning it into a dark, shimmering mirror that reflects the peace of the room. The steward takes a final, slow stretch, his shadow briefly covering the ivy leaf mosaic, before picking up his heavy amphora and moving toward the exit. His footsteps are a fading scuff. Pause. Scuff, on the floor, a sound that grows quieter and quieter until it is completely swallowed by the sound of the water. The hall is once again surrendered to its liquid solitude, but it is now fully prepared for the coming day. The lamps sit in their niches like small, dark hearts, filled with potential energy, waiting for the first spark of the morning. Feel the heavy, warm relaxation moving through your core, a feeling of being completely refilled and restored, as if the night itself were pouring its quiet strength into your soul. Your body is a vessel of rest, held in the cradle of the marble and the shadow. There is nothing left for you to do, nowhere left for you to go. The stars above the clerestory windows have begun to shift into their final positions of the night. The Great Bear has turned its back on the city, and the horizon is a line of impenetrable, deep violet. The air in the hall has reached its coldest point, but the residual warmth of the day still lingers in the deep heart of the stones, radiating upward in slow, invisible waves. The only thing that remains active is the flow. Shush. Hush. Hush. The Aqua Virgo continues its descent through the dark, a silver ribbon of life moving through the silent streets of Rome. You are following that ribbon now, letting it pull you away from the steward, away from the lamps, and away from the stone. You are drifting into the deep, dark tunnels of the Roman night, where the air is cool and the silence is absolute. Every breath is a deeper surrender to the heavy velvet darkness. The work is done. The lamps are full. The city is quiet. You are safe in the hands of the past, held by the stone and the water. You are sinking, floating, and finally, perfectly, letting go into the deep, dreamless rest of the ancient world. The water is singing. The oil is settling. And you are, at last, breathe in the deep, velvet stillness of the midnight, letting the cool, limestone-scented air expand your chest with the slow, effortless rhythm of a resting tide. As you exhale, feel your spine elongating and softening, every vertebra surrendering its height to the heavy horizontal peace of the Roman night. The hall of the latrina is now a cathedral of shadow, where the high, arched ceiling seems to dissolve into a dark, infinite sky. The moonlight has moved to the very edge of the room, casting long, ghostly fingers of light across the opus reticulatum walls, highlighting the diamond-shaped tough stones that fit together like the scales of a sleeping fish. Notice the sensation of your jaw completely unclenching, as if the very muscles of your face have turned to soft, warm wax, melting away the day's expressions until only a mask of pure, unbothered rest remains. The temperature in the hall has reached a perfect, crisp equilibrium. The residual heat from the morning sun has finally retreated into the marrow of the stones, leaving the air feeling thin, clean, and incredibly quiet. The water in the channels, however, remains a constant, warm heartbeat. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is a sound of absolute continuity, a promise that while the city sleeps, the city is also being renewed. In this profound silence, the room feels like a living, breathing entity, its stone lungs expanding and contracting with the flow of the aqueducts. From the small, darkened vestibule near the rear drainage exit, a new figure enters the hall, the Aquarius Substructionese, a specialized engineer responsible for the maintenance of the subterranean vaulted tunnels. He carries a small, shielded lantern that casts a soft, focused pool of amber light upon the floor, and a long, curved iron rake with a handle of smooth, dark oak. His job is the quietest of all, to ensure that the grates where the water leaves the hall and enters the cloaca maxima are free of any stray debris that might have drifted in from the streets above. It is a verified historical fact that the Roman sewer system was so vast and well constructed that Agrippa, the great statesman, once navigated its tunnels by boat to inspect their integrity. The engineer moves with a slow, heavy gait, his boots making a muted, rhythmic thud clack on the mosaic. He reaches the first bronze grate, which is set into the floor with massive lead-poured bolts. He kneels with a slow, weary grace, his shadow looming large against the white marble benches. He begins to rake the surface of the grate, moving in long, deliberate strokes. Listen to the rhythmic, metallic scritch, ring, slide of his work. The scritch is the iron rake meeting the bronze bars. The ring is the soft, musical vibration that travels through the metal, and the slide is the rake pulling back for the next stroke. Scritch, ring, slide, scritch, ring, slide. It is a low-frequency, industrial lullaby that speaks of the hidden strength of the city. He works with the patience of a man who understands that his labor is the foundation of Rome's grandeur. He removes a few stray leaves of plane trees and a small waterlogged piece of papyrus, placing them into a leather bucket with a soft, wet splat. Feel the imagined coolness of that water-slicked iron against your own palms, a tactile sensation of strength and utility that makes your own hands feel heavy and still. The engineer doesn't rush. He listens to the pitch of the water as it passes through the grate. He knows that a change in the note of the flow, a shift from a low hum to a higher whistle, could signal a blockage deep in the dark earth below. But tonight, the water sings a perfect, deep baritone. Scritch, ring, slide, hush. The rhythm of his work is deeply grounding. You find your own pulse slowing to match the vibrations of the bronze grate. Each ring of the metal is a signal to your nervous system that the barriers are strong, the passages are clear, and the world is functioning exactly as it should. The engineer moves to the second grate, then the third, his lantern light dancing over the mosaic ivy leaves like a captive firefly. He is the guardian of the exit, the man who ensures that nothing lingers where it shouldn't, that the flow is always forward, always outward, always clean. As he finishes his inspection, he stands and wipes his iron rake with a piece of heavy oiled canvas. Listen to the rhythmic, soft hiss, thrum of the cloth moving over the metal. It is a sound of preservation, of a tool being put to bed. He closes the shutter of his lantern, plunging the hall back into a deeper, more natural darkness, lit only by the setting moon. He picks up his leather bucket and moves toward the side exit, his footsteps a fading rhythmic thud. Thud. Thud that grows quieter and quieter until the room is once again reclaimed by the sound of the water. The silence that returns is reinforced by the clarity the engineer has left behind. The grates are clear. The tunnels are open. The water is free to fall into the deep, dark heart of the city. Feel the heavy, rhythmic pulsing of your heart moving in time with the deep earth vibration of the water, a slow and powerful cadence that anchors you to the very center of the world. Your body is a vessel of absolute stillness, held in the cradle of the marble and the shadow. There is nothing left for you to do, nowhere left for you to go. The stars above the clerestory windows have begun to fade as the sky transitions from indigo to a deep, bruised charcoal. The moon has slipped below the horizon, and the shadows have grown so vast they have merged into a single dark ocean of peace. The only thing that remains active is the flow. Shush. Hush. Hush. The Aqua Virgo continues its descent through the dark, a silver ribbon of life moving through the silent streets of Rome. You are following that ribbon now, letting it pull you away from the engineer, away from the grates, and away from the stone. You are drifting into the deep, dark tunnels of the Roman night, where the air is cool and the silence is absolute. Every breath is a deeper surrender to the heavy, velvet darkness. The work is done. The paths are clear. The city is quiet. You are safe in the hands of the past, held by the stone and the water. You are sinking, floating, and finally, perfectly, letting go into the deep, dreamless rest of the ancient world. The water is singing. The iron is still. And you are, at last. Take a long, slow breath, drawing in the deepest, most quiet air of the pre-dawn hour. As you exhale, imagine your body becoming as weightless as the fine marble dust that settles in the corners of this grand hall, drifting down into a state of total, undisturbed tranquility. The moonlight has now completely withdrawn from the floor, leaving the room to the soft, charcoal gray light that precedes the first hint of morning. The columns of the latrina stand like tall, silent witnesses to the passing of time, their smooth surfaces cool to the touch, reflecting nothing but the absolute peace of the Roman night. Notice the sensation of your chest and abdomen rising and falling with effortless rhythm, as if you were a boat floating on a perfectly still lake, untethered from the shore, moving only with the gentle pulse of the water beneath you. The atmosphere in the hall has reached a point of profound, velvety thickness. The scent of the lavender and bay leaves has mellowed into a soft, earthy musk, mingling with the natural, wet fragrance of the limestone walls. The water in the channels has become a low, resonant hum, a sound that feels as if it is vibrating not in the air, but directly within the stone itself. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is a sound of immense, quiet power, a reminder that even when the world stands still, the great work of the city continues without fail. In this moment, the hall feels like a sanctuary of pure geometry, a space designed by the gods of mathematics to house the silence of the human soul. From the darkened corridor that leads toward the public gardens, a new figure enters the hall, the pavimentarius, a specialist whose duty is the final rhythmic polishing of the stone before the day begins. He carries no heavy tools, only a large circular block of fine-grained volcanic pumice attached to a long wooden handle, and a soft leather pouch filled with pulverized marble flour. It is a verified historical fact that Roman stone surfaces were often polished using these natural abrasives until they achieved a mirror-like finish, a technique known as politis, which not only enhanced the beauty of the stone but made it resistant to the dampness of the environment. The pavimentarius moves to the center of the hall, where the mosaic patterns are most complex. He sprinkles a fine white dusting of the marble flour over the stones, the powder falling like a ghostly layer of frost in the dim light. He begins to move the pumice block in slow, overlapping circles. Listen to the rhythmic, soft whir, slide, whir, slide of his work. The whir, is the sound of the volcanic stone grinding the fine powder into the mosaic. The slide is the smooth transition as he moves to the next section. Or slide. Or slide. It is a dry, hypnotic cadence that provides a soft, textural counterpoint to the wet rush of the water channels. Or slide. Or slide. It is the sound of a surface becoming perfect, of friction turning into silk. He works with a slow, deliberate focus, his shadow tracing a wide, circular path across the opus reticulatum walls. He doesn't look at his hands. He feels the stone through the wooden handle, sensing the tiny imperfections and smoothing them away with the patience of the ages. Feel the imagined smoothness of that polished stone beneath your own skin, a sensation of coolness and absolute clarity that seems to spread through your own mind, smoothing away the last ripples of thought until everything is level and still. The marble flower creates a tiny white cloud around his feet, a miniature mist that dances in the low light before settling back onto the floor. Or slide. Or slide. The rhythm of his movement is as steady as the rotation of the stars. Each circle he draws is a meditation on the permanence of the city. You find your own mind following the arc of the pumice, moving in slow rhythmic loops that draw you deeper and deeper into the heart of the night. The whir of the stone is like a gentle internal vibration, a frequency that resonates with the very bones of your body, telling them that they are solid, they are safe, and they are at rest. The pavimentarius moves from the center toward the marble benches, his work a quiet ritual of refinement that prepares the hall for the weight of the coming day. As he finishes the central section, he takes a large dry cloth of unbleached linen and begins to buff the stone. Listen to the rhythmic, soft hush. Snap. Snap of the cloth. The hush is the fabric gliding over the polished surface. The snap is the sound of the linen being shaken out. Snap. Snap. The stone beneath the cloth begins to glow with a soft, dull luster, catching the very last of the starlight from the windows above. The pavimentarius stands back, his breath a slow, visible mist in the cool air, and looks at the floor. He has turned the mosaic into a sheet of dark, frozen water, a surface so smooth it seems to have no friction at all. He packs his marble flower and his pumice stone into his bag, his movements quiet and unhurried. He takes a small, damp sponge and wipes the dust from his leather sandals, leaving a trail of clean, dark footprints as he moves toward the exit. His departure is a fading, rhythmic thud. Thud. Thud on the stone floor, a sound that grows quieter and quieter until the room is once again reclaimed by the liquid silence of the aqueduct. The whir slide of the pumice has left a lingering vibration in the air, a sense of absolute, finished perfection. The silence that returns is more profound than ever, a silence that has been polished to a high shine. The floor is ready. The columns are still. The air is cold and pure. Feel the heavy, rhythmic pulsing of your own heart moving in time with the deep, polished silence of the hall, a slow and powerful cadence that anchors you to the very center of the world. Your body is a vessel of absolute stillness, held in the cradle of the marble and the shadow. There is nothing left for you to do, nowhere left for you to go. The stars above the clerestory windows have almost vanished, swallowed by the encroaching gray of the pre-dawn. The sky is a vast, empty bowl of indigo, waiting for the first touch of the sun. But here in the heart of the latrina, the night still holds its ground. The shadows are thick and protective, a heavy blanket that guards the peace of the stone. The only thing that remains active is the flow. Shush. Hush. Hush. The Aqua Virgo continues its descent through the dark, a silver ribbon of life moving through the silent streets of Rome. You are following that ribbon now, letting it pull you away from the polisher, away from the dust and away from the stone. You are drifting into the deep, dark tunnels of the Roman night, where the air is cool and the silence is absolute. Every breath is a deeper surrender to the heavy velvet darkness. The work is done. The stone is smooth. The city is quiet. You are safe in the hands of the past, held by the stone and the water. You are sinking, floating, and finally, perfectly, letting go into the deep, dreamless rest of the ancient world. The water is singing. The stone is glowing. And you are, at last, take a deep, slow breath of the cool, pre-dawn air, and as you exhale, imagine your consciousness expanding to fill the entire vaulted space of the latrina, becoming as still and as vast as the Roman sky outside. The shadows in the hall have reached their maximum depth, turning the white marble benches into long, ghostly ribbons of gray that seem to float just above the floor. The world is at its most silent now, that fragile, sacred bridge between the deepest night and the first whisper of the morning. Notice the sensation of your arms and legs feeling incredibly long and heavy, as if they were made of the same solid, enduring concrete that forms the foundations of the city, sinking through the layers of history into a state of total, unmovable rest. The atmosphere in the hall is thick with the scent of wet stone and the cooling residue of the midnight oil. Hush. Hush of the aqueduct water has become so familiar it is no longer a sound, but a vibration that hums in your very marrow. It is the rhythmic heartbeat of a civilization that never truly sleeps, even when its citizens are lost in the furthest reaches of their dreams. In this dim, charcoal light, the intricate mosaics on the floor seem to shift and merge, the geometric patterns and ivy leaves becoming a single soft texture of peace. From the service tunnel near the main entrance, a new figure enters the hall, the vestiarius nocturnus, the night attendant responsible for the heavy linen curtains that shield the grand archways from the morning dust and the rising wind. He moves with a slow, deliberate economy of motion, his footsteps making a soft, rhythmic thud swish on the polished stone. He carries a long wooden pole tipped with a bronze hook, and draped over his shoulder is a fresh, heavy curtain of unbleached Egyptian linen, thick enough to muffle the sounds of the waking world. It is a verified historical fact that Roman public buildings utilized these massive textiles, often treated with wax or cedar oil, to regulate temperature and provide a sense of interior sanctuary against the elements. The attendant approaches the first great archway, where the old curtain hangs in heavy, dusty folds. He uses the bronze hook to slowly unfasten the loops from the iron rings set high in the stone. Listen to the rhythmic, soft clink, slide, rustle of his work. The clink is the metal hook meeting the iron ring. The slide is the heavy fabric moving along the rod, and the rustle is the sound of the thick linen folding onto itself as it descends. Click, slide, rustle, click, slide, rustle. It is a heavy textile cadence that adds a soft, muffled layer to the constant rush of the water channels. Click, slide, rustle. The sound is like the closing of a great book, a signal that the story of the night is coming to its quiet conclusion. He works with the patience of a weaver at a loom. He folds the old curtain with slow, rhythmic movements of his arms, his shadow moving across the opus reticulatum walls like a slow, dark wave. Then he lifts the new, clean linen. Feel the imagined weight and the slightly rough texture of that heavy fabric against your own skin, a sensation of being wrapped in a thick, protective cocoon that separates you from all external noise and light. He hooks the new curtain into place, pull by slow pull until the archway is completely sealed. As the fabric settles, the acoustics of the hall change, becoming even more intimate and hushed, the sound of the water now echoing with a deeper, more resonant tone. Click, slide, rustle, hush. The rhythm of his work is a masterpiece of quietude. He moves to the second archway, then the third, his movements as steady as the flow of the water below. Each curtain he hangs is a barrier against the coming day, a way of prolonging the peace of the night for just a few moments longer. You find your own breathing matching the slow rhythmic rise and fall of his arms, a tidal movement that requires no thought and no effort. The clink of the bronze hook is like a tiny silver bell calling you deeper into the silence. The attendant is the guardian of the threshold, the man who ensures that the transition from dark to light is as soft and as gradual as a dream. As he finishes the last archway, he stands back to adjust the final fold of the linen. He runs his hand down the length of the fabric, smoothing the heavy pleats with a rhythmic, soft hiss. Thrum. This thrum of his palm. It is a sound of absolute order, of a space being perfected for its purpose. He picks up the old curtains, their weight balanced perfectly against his hip, and turns to leave. His departure is a fading rhythmic thud. Thud. Thud that grows quieter and quieter until it is completely swallowed by the soft, muffled echo of the hall. The silence that returns is deeper and more private than ever. The new curtains have transformed the hall into a sealed chamber of rest, where the air is still and the light is a uniform, comforting gray. The clink-slide rustle of the linen has left a lingering vibration of safety in the air. Feel the heavy, rhythmic pulsing of your heart moving in time with the deep, muffled silence of the hall, a slow and powerful cadence that anchors you to the very center of the world. Your body is a vessel of absolute stillness, held in the cradle of the marble, the linen, and the shadow. There is nothing left for you to do, nowhere left for you to go. The sky beyond the curtains is turning a pale, ethereal lavender, but here in the latrina, the night remains a solid, protective presence. The shadows are thick and kind, a heavy blanket that guards the peace of the stone. The only thing that remains active is the flow. Shush. Hush. Hush. The Aqua Virgo continues its descent through the dark, a silver ribbon of life moving through the silent streets of Rome. You are following that ribbon now, letting it pull you away from the attendant, away from the linen, and away from the stone. You are drifting into the deep, dark tunnels of the Roman night, where the air is cool and the silence is absolute. Every breath is a deeper surrender to the heavy velvet darkness. The work is done. The curtains are closed. The city is quiet. You are safe in the hands of the past, held by the stone and the water. You are sinking, floating, and finally, perfectly, letting go into the deep, dreamless rest of the ancient world. The water is singing. The linen is still. And you are, at last, inhale the stillness of the deep Roman pre-dawn, feeling the cool, mineral-rich air expand your chest with the slow, effortless grace of a mountain spring. As you exhale, imagine your body becoming as soft and as yielding as the wet clay used to shape the city's many amphorae, surrendering its form to the heavy, supportive embrace of the marble. The hall is now a world of muted, silvery velvet. The new linen curtains have muffled the distant, early morning sounds of the city, the faint call of a lone baker or the distant chime of a bell, leaving you alone with the eternal liquid heartbeat of the aqueduct. Notice the sensation of your fingers going completely limp, each one resting heavy and still against your thighs or the cool stone, as if they have forgotten the very concept of motion. You are a quiet, resting statue in a gallery of shadows, held in a silence so profound it feels like a warm, protective liquid. The atmosphere within the latrina is now at its most fragrant and thick. The lavender, bay, and cedar oils have married into a single intoxicating perfume of rest, a scent that seems to coat the back of your throat with a soothing, herbal sweetness. The water in the deep channels continues its rhythmic, gliding journey. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is a sound of absolute reliability, a constant reminder that the world is being cleansed and renewed even in the deepest heart of the night. In this soft charcoal light, the rows of prepared sea sponges in their ceramic jars look like small resting birds, waiting for the first touch of the sun. From a narrow service door near the back of the hall, a specialist known as the Tector Nocturnus enters, a master of the fine lime plasters used to finish the interior walls. He carries a small, shallow wooden bowl containing a paste of ultrafine marble dust and slaked lime, and a tiny, flexible bronze trowel. His task is one of extreme delicacy. He is here to fill the microscopic hairline fractures that the heavy Roman concrete occasionally develops as it settles under its own massive weight. It is a verified historical fact that Roman builders used opus signinum, a mixture of crushed tiles and lime, to create waterproof linings for their water systems, ensuring that not a single drop of the precious Aqua Virgo was lost to the thirsty earth. The Tector moves with the slow, gliding steps of a dancer, his shadow merging and parting with the columns as he passes. He approaches a section of the wall where the opus reticulatum pattern meets the smooth, plastered arch of the ceiling. He dips the tip of his bronze trowel into the lime paste and begins to apply it with a pressure so light it would not bruise a grape. Listen to the rhythmic, soft swish, press, glide of his work. The swish is the trowel moving through the smooth paste. The press is the sound of the lime being eased into a tiny fissure, and the glide is the trowel smoothing the surface into a mirror-like finish. Swish, press, glide, swish, press, glide. It is a wet, textural cadence that provides a delicate, earthy melody to the constant rush of the water channels. He works with a repetitive, meditative focus, his eyes inches from the stone, guided more by the feeling of the surface than the dim light. He is mending the skin of the building, ensuring its integrity for another 100 years. Feel the imagined smoothness of that fresh, cool plaster against your own forehead, a sensation of absolute closure and healing that seems to spread through your own mind, sealing away any lingering cracks of worry or thought. The scent of the fresh lime is clean and sharp, like the smell of a beach after a storm, a purifying aroma that signals a new beginning. Swish, press, glide. The rhythm is utterly hypnotic, a slow-motion dance of repair that tells your body it is safe to let go of its own structural tensions. The Tector moves from the archway to the base of a column, his movements as steady as the flow of the water below. He doesn't hurry. He understands that the lime needs time to breathe, time to become one with the stone. You find your own pulse slowing to match the deliberate pace of his hand. Each glide of the trowel is like a soft hand stroking your brow, smoothing out the day, leaving behind a surface that is perfectly level and calm. The room is being made whole again, one tiny rhythmic movement at a time. The architect's vision is being maintained by the quiet hand of the night. As he finishes his work, the Tector takes a small piece of fine silk and buffs the new plaster until it glows with a soft, matte luster. Listen to the rhythmic, soft hiss, sigh of the silk. It is a sound of finality, of a task completed with love and precision. He cleans his bronze trowel with a damp cloth, the metal clinking softly as it is tucked back into his belt. He picks up his wooden bowl and looks at the wall, seeing only perfection. With a slow, respectful nod to the silent hall, he retreats back through the narrow door, the latch closing with a soft, final click. The hall is once again surrendered to its liquid solitude, but it is now even more solid, even more secure. The swish press glide of the trowel has left a lingering vibration of restoration in the air. The new plaster is already beginning its long, slow process of hardening into stone, becoming a permanent part of the sanctuary. Feel the heavy rhythmic pulsing of your heart moving in time with the deep, curing silence of the walls, a slow and powerful cadence that anchors you to the very foundations of the city. Your body is a vessel of absolute stillness, held in the cradle of the marble, the plaster, and the shadow. The sky beyond the heavy linen curtains has turned a deep, dusty violet, the stars beginning to pull back into the infinite dark. The moon is long gone, and the world is waiting in the breathless space before the dawn. But here, in the heart of the latrina, time has no meaning. There is only the flow, the stone, and the silence. Shush. Hush. Hush. The Aqua Virgo continues its descent, carrying the peace of the hills into the dreams of the city. You are following that peace now, letting it pull you away from the builder, away from the plaster, and away from the light. You are drifting into the deep, dark tunnels of the Roman night, where the air is cool and the silence is absolute. Every breath is a deeper surrender to the heavy velvet darkness. The work is done. The walls are mended. The city is quiet. You are safe in the hands of the past, held by the stone and the water. You are sinking, floating, and finally, perfectly, letting go into the deep, dreamless rest of the ancient world. The water is singing. The lime is setting. And you are, at last, take a very slow, deep breath of the pre-dawn air, feeling it enter your lungs with the coolness of deep cave water, and as you exhale, imagine your body becoming as still and as permanent as the limestone foundations of the city. The hall of the latrina is now at its most profound point of rest. The linen curtains have turned the room into a silent, charcoal gray cocoon, where the only movement is the slow, rhythmic crawl of the shadows across the polished mosaic floor. Outside, the great city of Rome is a silent sea of terracotta roofs and marble monuments, held in the fragile grip of the hour before the sun. Notice the sensation of your collarbones and ribs becoming heavy and broad, sinking downward with every long, effortless breath, as if you were a stone settling into the soft, ancient silt of the Tiber River. The atmosphere in the hall is thick with the scent of damp earth and the fading, sweet memory of the lavender. The water in the channels has reached its most musical depth. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is a sound that smooths over the very fabric of your mind, a liquid white noise that seems to carry away the last grains of your waking thoughts. In this dim, soft light, the columns of the hall look like massive, silent trees in a petrified forest, standing guard over the absolute stillness of the night. From the shadows of the arched entrance, a new figure enters the hall. The pavimentariusolio, the specialist responsible for the final, nourishing treatment of the marble surfaces. He carries a large, shallow bronze basin filled with a warm mixture of beeswax and refined almond oil, and a thick, soft bundle of unbleached wool. It is a verified historical fact that Roman stone surfaces were periodically treated with these natural oils and waxes, a process known as encaustic, to protect the marble from the humidity of the water and to give it a deep, inner glow that reflected the light of the lamps. The pavimentarius moves with the slow, gliding steps of someone who knows the floor by heart. He reaches the first marble bench and begins to apply the warm oil with a slow, rhythmic pressure. Listen to the rhythmic, soft swirl. Slide. Swirl. Slide of his work. The swirl is the sound of the wool bundle moving in large, circular patterns. The slide is the long, smooth stroke as he moves along the length of the marble. Swirl. Slide. Swirl. Slide. It is a thick, viscous cadence that provides a heavy, textural melody to the constant rush of the water channels. Swirl. Slide. Swirl. Slide. The sound is incredibly grounding, evoking the feeling of a warm hand being laid upon a cool surface. He works with a repetitive, meditative grace. He pours a small golden stream of the oil onto the stone, and then works it deep into the grain of the marble with the heat of his palm. Feel the imagined warmth and the heavy silkiness of that oil against your own skin, a sensation of being nourished and protected, as if your own muscles were being rubbed with a warming herbal balm. The scent of the almond and wax rises in the cool air, a sweet, nutty, and clean aroma that reminds the mind of summer orchards and the golden light of the sun. Swirl, slide, swirl, slide. The repetition is utterly hypnotic. You find your own pulse slowing to match the deliberate pace of his hand, each circle on the marble drawing you deeper and deeper into the center of the night. The pavimentarius moves from bench to bench, his shadow tracing a slow, graceful path across the opus reticulatum walls. He is the guardian of the surface, the man who ensures that the beauty of the stone is preserved against the passage of time. He treats each bench as if it were a precious altar, his movements full of a quiet, unhurried reverence. The marble beneath his hand begins to change, losing its cold, white glare and taking on a deep, warm luster that seems to glow from within. The room is becoming even more inviting, even more dedicated to the comfort of the human form. As he finishes the last of the benches, the pavimentarius takes a clean piece of wool and gives the stone a final rhythmic buffing. Listen to the rhythmic, soft hiss, sigh of the wool. It is a sound of absolute completion. He picks up his bronze basin and looks at the hall, seeing the soft, golden reflections of the charcoal embers dancing on the newly oiled stone. With a slow, respectful nod to the silent room, he retreats back through the arched entrance, his footsteps a fading rhythmic scuff, 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 on the mosaic until the hall is once again surrendered to its liquid solitude. The silence that returns is more profound than ever, a silence that has been oiled and buffed to a state of perfect rest. The benches are ready. The stone is protected. The air is still and fragrant. Feel the heavy, rhythmic pulsing of your heart moving in time with the deep, nourished silence of the room, a slow and powerful cadence that anchors you to the very center of the world. Your body is a vessel of absolute stillness, held in the cradle of the marble, the oil, and the shadow. There is nothing left for you to do, nowhere left for you to go. The sky beyond the linen curtains is turning a pale, ethereal silver, the stars beginning to fade into the light of the approaching dawn. But here, in the heart of the latrina, the night still holds its ground. The shadows are thick and kind, a heavy blanket that guards the peace of the stone. The only thing that remains active is the flow. Shush. Hush. Hush. The Aqua Virgo continues its descent through the dark, a silver ribbon of life moving through the silent streets of Rome. You are following that ribbon now, letting it pull you away from the oiler, away from the wool, and away from the light. You are drifting into the deep, dark tunnels of the Roman night, where the air is cool and the silence is absolute. Every breath is a deeper surrender to the heavy velvet darkness. The work is done. The stone is protected. The city is quiet. You are safe in the hands of the past, held by the stone and the water. You are sinking, floating, and finally, perfectly, letting go into the deep, dreamless rest of the ancient world. The water is singing. The marble is glowing. And you are, at last, breathe in the deep, velvet stillness of the midnight, letting the cool, limestone-scented air expand your chest with the slow, effortless rhythm of a resting tide. As you exhale, feel your spine elongating and softening, every vertebra surrendering its height to the heavy horizontal peace of the Roman night. The hall of the latrina is now a cathedral of shadow, where the high, arched ceiling seems to dissolve into a dark, infinite sky. The moonlight has moved to the very edge of the room, casting long, ghostly fingers of light across the opus reticulatum walls, highlighting the diamond-shaped tough stones that fit together like the scales of a sleeping fish. Notice the sensation of your jaw completely unclenching, as if the very muscles of your face have turned to soft, warm wax, melting away the day's expressions until only a mask of pure, unbothered rest remains. The temperature in the hall has reached a perfect, crisp equilibrium. The residual heat from the morning's sun has finally retreated into the marrow of the stones, leaving the air feeling thin, clean, and incredibly quiet. The water in the channels, however, remains a constant, warm heartbeat. Shush. Hush. Hush. It is a sound of absolute continuity, a promise that while the city sleeps, the city is also being renewed. In this profound silence, the room feels like a living, breathing entity, its stone lungs expanding and contracting with the flow of the aqueducts. From the darkened vestibule near the rear drainage exit, a new figure enters the hall, the Aquarius Substructionese, a specialized engineer responsible for the maintenance of the subterranean vaulted tunnels. He carries a small, shielded lantern that casts a soft, focused pool of amber light upon the floor, and a long, curved iron rake with a handle of smooth, dark oak. His job is the quietest of all, to ensure that the grates where the water leaves the hall and enters the cloaca maxima are free of any stray debris that might have drifted in from the streets above. It is a verified historical fact that the Roman sewer system was so vast and well constructed that Agrippa, the great statesman, once navigated its tunnels by boat to inspect their integrity. The engineer moves with a slow, heavy gait, his boots making a muted, rhythmic thud clack on the mosaic. He reaches the first bronze grate, which is set into the floor with massive lead-poured bolts. He kneels with a slow, weary grace, his shadow looming large against the white marble benches. He begins to rake the surface of the grate, moving in long, deliberate strokes. Listen to the rhythmic, metallic scritch, ring, slide of his work. The scritch is the iron rake meeting the bronze bars. The ring is the soft, musical vibration that travels through the metal, and the slide is the rake pulling back for the next stroke. Scritch, ring, slide, scritch, ring, slide. It is a low-frequency, industrial lullaby that speaks of the hidden strength of the city. He works with the patience of a man who understands that his labor is the foundation of Rome's grandeur. He removes a few stray leaves of plane trees and a small waterlogged piece of papyrus, placing them into a leather bucket with a soft, wet splat. Feel the imagined coolness of that water-slicked iron against your own palms, a tactile sensation of strength and utility that makes your own hands feel heavy and still. The engineer doesn't rush. He listens to the pitch of the water as it passes through the grate. He knows that a change in the note of the flow, a shift from a low hum to a higher whistle, could signal a blockage deep in the dark earth below. But tonight, the water sings a perfect, deep baritone. Scritch, ring, slide, hush. The rhythm of his work is deeply grounding. You find your own pulse slowing to match the vibrations of the bronze grate. Each ring of the metal is a signal to your nervous system that the barriers are strong, the passages are clear, and the world is functioning exactly as it should. The engineer moves to the second grate, then the third, his lantern light dancing over the mosaic ivy leaves like a captive firefly. He is the guardian of the exit, the man who ensures that nothing lingers where it shouldn't, that the flow is always forward, always outward, always clean. As he finishes his inspection, he stands and wipes his iron rake with a piece of heavy oiled canvas. Listen to the rhythmic, soft hiss, thrum, hiss, thrum of the cloth moving over the metal. It is a sound of preservation, of a tool being put to bed. He closes the shutter of his lantern, plunging the hall back into a deeper, more natural darkness, lit only by the setting moon. He picks up his leather bucket and moves toward the side exit, his footsteps a fading rhythmic thud. Thud. Thud that grows quieter and quieter until the room is once again reclaimed by the sound of the water. The silence that returns is reinforced by the clarity the engineer has left behind. The grates are clear. The tunnels are open. The water is free to fall into the deep, dark heart of the city. Feel the heavy, rhythmic pulsing of your heart moving in time with the deep earth vibration of the water, a slow and powerful cadence that anchors you to the very center of the world. Your body is a vessel of absolute stillness, held in the cradle of the marble and the shadow. There is nothing left for you to do, nowhere left for you to go. The stars above the clerestory windows have begun to fade as the sky transitions from indigo to a deep, bruised charcoal. The moon has slipped below the horizon, and the shadows have grown so vast they have merged into a single dark ocean of peace. The only thing that remains active is the flow. Shush. Hush. Hush. The Aqua Virgo continues its descent through the dark, a silver ribbon of life moving through the silent streets of Rome. You are following that ribbon now, letting it pull you away from the engineer, away from the grates, and away from the stone. You are drifting into the deep, dark tunnels of the Roman night, where the air is cool and the silence is absolute. Every breath is a deeper surrender to the heavy, velvet darkness. The work is done. The paths are clear. The city is quiet. You are safe in the hands of the past, held by the stone and the water. You are sinking, floating, and finally, perfectly, letting go into the deep, dreamless rest of the ancient world. The water is singing. The iron is still. And you are, at last, breathe in the cool, pre-dawn air, feeling it settle into your lungs with the weight of ancient history. As you exhale, imagine your body becoming as still and as silent as the vast, sleeping city of Rome. The hall of the latrina is now caught in that fragile, ethereal moment where the night begins to thin, turning the deep charcoal shadows into a soft, hazy violet. The heavy linen curtains at the archway sway almost imperceptibly, as if the building itself were taking a long, slow breath before the arrival of the morning. Notice the sensation of your weight being perfectly distributed across the marble, as if every muscle and bone has found its permanent resting place within the architecture of the room. You are no longer just a visitor, you are a part of the stone, part of the silence, and part of the eternal flow. The atmosphere in the hall is at its most balanced point. The warmth from the earlier charcoal brazier has completely vanished, replaced by a crisp, invigorating chill that makes the heavy woolen wrap around your shoulders feel like a warm, protective embrace. The scent of the lavender and cedar is now a faint, ghostly memory, overtaken by the clean, sharp aroma of the Aqua Virgo as it rushes through the masonry. Shush. Hush. Hush. The sound has changed subtly. It feels lighter, more fluid, as if the water itself were eager to meet the coming day. In this dim light, the polished marble benches glow with a soft, inner radiance, reflecting the very first invisible hints of light from the eastern horizon. From the darkened vestibule near the main entrance, a new figure enters the hall, the Edicus Nocturnus, the night warden of the public buildings. He carries a small silver tray upon which rests a handful of dried bay leaves and a small, smoldering piece of frankincense in a tiny bronze censer. His task is the final purification of the air, a ritual of lust ratio meant to sweep away the stagnant energies of the night and prepare the space for the social vibrancy of the Roman day. It is a verified historical fact that the Romans placed immense value on the sensory experience of their public spaces, using incense and aromatics not just for luxury, but as a way of maintaining the spiritual and physical health of the community. The warden moves with a slow, rhythmic grace, his leather-soled sandals making a soft, melodic scuff tap on the mosaic floor. He approaches the central area of the room, near the freshwater channel, and begins to swing the small censer in long, slow arcs. Listen to the rhythmic, soft clink. This puff of his work. The clink is the delicate bronze chain meeting the side of the censer. The hiss is the incense meeting the hot ember. And the puff is the tiny cloud of white smoke being released into the air. Clink. This puff. Clink. This puff. It is a light, ethereal cadence that floats above the heavy roar of the water. The scent of the frankincense is deep, resinous, and profoundly calming. It cuts through the dampness of the stone with a warm, spicy note that seems to expand the space within your own mind. As the thin, white ribbons of smoke rise toward the vaulted ceiling, they are caught in the descending currents of air from the clerestory windows, swirling in slow, hypnotic patterns. Feel the imagined warmth of that fragrant smoke against your face, a sensation of being cleansed and lightened, as if the last lingering weights of your thoughts were being carried upward and out of the room. The warden moves around the perimeter of the hall, his shadow dancing briefly over the opus reticulatum walls, leaving a trail of sacred fragrance in his wake. The rhythm of his movement is as steady as the heartbeat of the city. You find your own breathing matching the slow rhythmic swing of the censer. One long deep inhalation of the spicy air, and one slow effortless exhalation as the smoke drifts away. Each clink of the bronze chain is a signal to your mind that the night is concluding with grace and order. The warden is the bridge between the silence of the dark and the activity of the light, ensuring that the transition is seamless and pure. As he reaches the final archway, the warden pauses and sprinkles a few dried bay leaves into the water of the freshwater channel. Listen to the rhythmic, soft click, ripple, flow of the leaves meeting the water. The click is the dry leaf hitting the surface. The ripple is the water adjusting to its new passenger. And the flow is the leaf being swept away into the dark tunnels. Click, ripple, flow. It is a sound of absolute surrender, of nature being carried along by the hand of the city. The warden picks up his silver tray and turns to leave, his footsteps a fading rhythmic scuff. Scuff. Scuff on the stone until the hall is once again surrendered to its liquid solitude. The silence that returns is now infused with the scent of the frankincense, a fragrance that feels like a solid, supportive presence in the air. The hall is ready. The air is pure. The stone is silent. Feel the heavy, rhythmic pulsing of your own blood moving in time with the deep, sacred silence of the room, a slow and powerful cadence that anchors you to the very center of the ancient world. Your body is a vessel of absolute stillness, held in the cradle of the marble, the incense, and the shadow. There is nothing left for you to do, nowhere left for you to go. The sky beyond the curtains is now a deep, luminous indigo, and the first faint chirping of a bird can be heard from the distant gardens. The night is folding its wings, but here, in the heart of the latrina, the peace remains absolute. The shadows are soft and kind, a heavy blanket that guards the final moments of your rest. The only thing that remains active is the flow. Shush. Hush. Hush. The Aqua Virgo continues its descent, a silver ribbon of life moving through the silent streets of Rome. You are following that ribbon now, letting it pull you away from the warden, away from the incense, and away from the stone. You are drifting into the deep, dark tunnels of the Roman night, where the air is cool and the silence is absolute. Every breath is a deeper surrender to the heavy velvet darkness. The work is done. The space is purified. The city is quiet. You are safe in the hands of the past, held by the stone and the water. You are sinking, floating, and finally, perfectly, letting go into the deep, dreamless rest of the ancient world. The water is singing. The incense is drifting. And you are, at last, Take a long, slow breath of the deepest indigo air, feeling it expand your lungs with the coolness of a mountain peak before the sun has even thought to touch it. As you exhale, imagine your body becoming as still and as heavy as a sunken Roman anchor, resting on the silken bed of the Tiber, perfectly unmovable and profoundly at peace. The hall of the latrina has reached its final, most sacred state of suspension. The charcoal gray light is beginning to separate into layers of soft lavender and pale pearl, revealing the sharp, clean lines of the marble benches and the intricate geometric precision of the opus reticulatum walls. Notice the sensation of your eyes feeling like heavy, smooth stones, their lids closed so firmly and comfortably that the very idea of light seems like a distant, beautiful dream. The atmosphere in the hall is thin, crisp, and utterly pure. The heavy linen curtains at the archways are now visible as solid, vertical shadows, standing between you and the awakening world. The scent of the frankincense has settled into a soft, resinous sweetness that clings to the marble, while the water in the channels has taken on a deeper, more resonant tone, as if it were vibrating with the weight of the entire city above. Shush. Hush. Hush. This is the final lullaby of the night, a liquid rhythm that has escorted you through the hours, guiding you from the bustle of the day into the absolute sanctuary of the dark. From the high, open clerestory windows, a new sound begins to drift into the room, the first tentative song of a Roman nightingale, hidden in the thick ivy of the nearby gardens. Its notes are clear, silver, and spaced with wide intervals of silence. Listen to the rhythmic, soft peep. Pause of the bird. The peep is a tiny, bright spark in the darkness. The trill is a cascading ribbon of sound, and the pause is the return of the water's deep, rolling roar. Peep. Pause. Peep. Pause. It is a sound of immense hope and absolute safety, a signal that the world has survived the night and is ready to be reborn. As the first invisible finger of dawn touches the very top of the vaulted ceiling, a final figure enters the hall, the Custos Januarius, the guardian of the morning. He does not come to work but to witness. He carries no tools, only a small wooden cup of clear water. He moves to the center of the mosaic floor, his sandals silent on the polished stone, and stands perfectly still in the center of a shaft of pale, pre-dawn light. It is a verified historical fact that the Romans viewed the transition of the dawn as a sacred time, a moment to offer a silent salutation to the gods of the city and the spirits of the home. The guardian raises his wooden cup in a slow, silent toast to the high, arched windows. He takes a single rhythmic sip and then pours the remaining water into the freshwater channel. Listen to the rhythmic, soft splash, ripple, merge of the water. The splash is the small offering meeting the flow, the ripple is the circle of light expanding outward, and the merge is the two waters becoming one heading together toward the sea. Splash, ripple, merge. It is a sound of total unity, of a single life joining the vast, eternal current of history. The guardian takes a final deep breath, his shadow a long still line on the mosaic, and then quietly retreats, leaving the hall to the light. The silence that remains is no longer the silence of the night, but the silence of the beginning. The marble is glowing with a soft, ethereal light that seems to come from within the stone itself. The ivy leaf mosaic is crisp and clear, a field of green and white that promises a day of health and vitality. Feel the heavy rhythmic pulsing of your heart moving in time with the deep golden silence of the dawn, a slow and powerful cadence that anchors you to the very soul of Rome. Your body is a vessel of absolute peace, held in the cradle of the marble, the songbird, and the light. The first ray of the sun has now struck the very edge of a marble bench, turning the white stone into a sliver of brilliant gold. But you are far away, drifting on the silver ribbon of the Aqua Virgo, moving through the cool, dark tunnels of your own rest. You are safe. You are whole. You are part of the eternal city. Every breath is a deeper dive into the velvet softness of your dreams. The work is done. The day is here. And you are at last perfectly asleep. Take a long, slow breath of the purest air, caught in that sacred suspension between night and day. As you exhale, imagine your body becoming as supple as a ribbon of silk, stretching across the cool marble benches, merging with the very soul of ancient Rome. The deep indigo of the sky outside the high windows is now surrendering to layers of soft powder pink and pale lemon. This is the moment where the darkness yields to the light, yet within this hall, the silence is preserved like a treasure beneath glass. Feel the phantom warmth of the first sunbeam as it touches the crest of the vaulted ceiling, sliding down the stone columns to transform them into silent torches of morning light. The atmosphere within the latrina has reached a state of absolute transparency. The scents of lavender, bay, and cedar oil have mellowed into a single honeyed aftertaste, a whisper from the passing night. The water in the channels maintains its steady, tireless rhythm. Shush, hush, hush. It is the heartbeat of time, a constant flow that ensures every weariness has been washed away and every shadow carried far into the earth through the cloaca maxima. On the walls, the diamond patterns of the opus reticulatum emerge with newfound clarity, looking like the intricate mesh of a great net gathering the last dreams of the night. The song of the nightingale in the distant gardens fades, making way for the majestic silence of a day being born. Notice the absolute relaxation spreading from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes, a weightless sensation as if you were drifting in a warm, buoyant pool where there is no gravity, no pressure, and no time, only the pure presence of being. The heavy linen curtains at the archway sway almost imperceptibly in the early breeze, filtering the light into soft, amber rays. All the labors of the night, the masons, the oil stewards, the watchmen, are complete. They have retreated into the shadows, leaving you a space that is perfect, pristine, and sanctified. The polished marble now reflects the dawn like a series of dark mirrors, creating a labyrinth of light that is brilliant yet profoundly gentle. Now let your breath find its most natural, effortless cadence. There is no need for exertion, no need for control. You are here at the heart of the empire, in the embrace of the eternal. All sounds recede, leaving only the final liquid lullaby of the Aqua Virgo. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Rome has awakened, but you are permitted to linger in the world of dreams. This safety is absolute. The support of the stone is permanent. And this rest is the highest reward after a long journey through the shadows of history. May you have a deep sleep and the most beautiful dreams in the heart of the eternal city.